the biggest problem also with the guys that are on the indie scene or TNA or the other companies that are out there, they never had any mentors or any veterans that could teach them. They pretty much, go out there, and that's why they're doing the 7 deadly.
That brings me to the degradation of the business. And Vince McMahon holds himself accountable and responsible, and I can tell you right now, he's not. He's not responsible. They say, oh, it was because of the death of territories, and that's not it either. Territories could still very well exist today. They just would not make as much money as what they did. Or they could possibly, if they get hot, they can make money. That's fine. The problem is that you've got a business full of wrestlers and not full of workers. And when I broke into business, there was a statement that was always made, was that
that's a good line.
You can put a pair of boots and a pair of tights on any guy. I can put boots and tights on you guys and call you wrestlers.
Right.
And a wrestler can make you some money, but he can only make you some money. A worker will always make money. He may not make as much as he did when he was hot or on his biggest run, but he'll still make money because he can still work. He can still work the audience. He's going out there trying to work, not wrestle, not do moves, but work the audience. And back in the day, like when I broke into business, it was very, very hard to break into business. And it was very difficult because of why we shake each other's hand. Those of you that are watching this, don't misunderstand. You're not shaking my hand out of respect because I've been doing this longer, or I'm in WWE or ECW. You would shake my hand because you need me, and I shake yours because I need you. Do you honestly think that Vince McMahon will walk up to you, which he will, shake your hand and tell you thank you? Why do you think he does that, Rob?
Why?
Why? Because if he ain't got you, he ain't got nothing to promote. You can't be a winner if you ain't got somebody willing to do the favor and lose. You can't go over or get over if somebody's not willing to put you over. You can't be the main event without the opening match, and you can't be the opening match without the main event. We all live together, we all die together, and we all make money together, and we all lose money together. It only takes one guy. For the last year and a half, you built a town, and it's drawn, it's making money, and it takes one guy to fuck it up. Back in the day, a lot of wrestlers, very intelligent, very creative, but very eclectic people. They couldn't function in normal society. Not like these guys today who can go out and you can see them working at a bank.
Right.
A lot of those guys, brother, if they weren't in wrestling, they'd probably be in jail or God knows what. Not because they were bad people,
right,
but they were just, that was what they did. You understand? It's who they were. It's not just a vocation, it was who they were. So they did everything they could. That's the term protect the business, which everybody thinks it's not to smarten people up. People are fucking retards. It was to protect the business, keep people out of it. Not to let somebody in it, because one guy could fuck it up for all of us. So what happened was, and it started around the time of Larry Sharp. I remember it as clear as a bell. Larry Sharp became a big sensation with the wrestling school.
The Monster Factory.
And it got so popular that Larry started selling franchises. Now, all you had to do was have the money. You could become a wrestler. That's fine. I don't begrudge anybody. Follow your dream. But all I ask is treat this business with respect. And don't treat it like a joke. Don't treat it like a hobby. I don't think that's much to ask. If you want to do it on a part-time basis, feel free. Even back in the day when there were territories and stuff, there were guys that didn't want to do it a full-time thing. They wanted to have a family, and they wanted to do it, work 3-4 nights a week, wrestle where they could. They never treated it like it was a joke or a hobby. Oh, I'm going to go play wrestler. They treated it like a profession, and they did everything they could to protect it and protect its integrity. And that means to something as simple as looking like, you don't have to look like look at me, I've never looked like a bodybuilder, that's for goddamn sure. But I look like, to some degree, I make my living athletically, right?
Yeah.
Well, I had gear. Most guys these days, a lot of guys on these independent shows, I'm not putting the guys down, but they go out there and they don't even know a guy named Jim, let alone go in one. And if you were to go to a boxing match, right? Or an MMA fight, which is really popular right now, You see a guy walk out there and he's got the, he's got the drum and he's got buggy whip arms. He don't look like he's even drove past a gym.
Right.
He didn't even open up Yellow Pages to see what a gym was. Now you're expecting that this guy's now going to be a professional fighter, and he's wearing a T-shirt from Hot Topic. He's got a pair of used tennis shoes,
right,
and torn up pants. Now, granted, wrestling you can wear different things like that because it might be part of your character or your gimmick. But for God's sakes, if 10 guys in the locker room are all wearing black T-shirts and wearing amateur wrestling boots to hide their big bellies and their, pallid skin, how am I now, as a fan, going to suspend my disbelief and believe I'm really watching a competitive situation, which is what the work is supposed to be? You can't do that. It's very difficult. And I'm not putting, hey, you don't understand, man. Yeah, it's easy for you. You get paid lots of money. Well, let me tell you something. I never always got paid a lot of money. At one point, I was eating off the engine of my fucking car. I called it the barbecue because I couldn't afford to go and eat at a fucking restaurant. I had to buy Stewart sandwiches out of a gas station, and they didn't have microwaves back then in every gas station, so I had to heat it up somehow because I don't know if you ever had a Stewart sandwich, but even hot, that thing tastes like shit on a roll.
Right.
So I had to figure out how to do it. So I had no money, so I had to heat it up on the engine of a car. I had to use it on a manifold. I used a Boy Scout mess kit, strap the thing on there, and heat the fucking thing up. I had a wife. I had kids. You know that. I went for 14 fucking years before I got any kind of break. I was the best kept secret in wrestling. Am I right? I didn't make that fucking name up, which is a compliment for year 2. Year 14, you want somebody to fucking tell the secret. I worked a regular job and wrestled 3 or 4 days every week, trying to, make whatever I could. But I did it because I loved to do it. But I had a pair of fucking boots. I had trunks. Luckily K&H, which was the only place you could buy outfits at that time, was 3-hour ride. I would drive the 3 hours to go down there and see if the guy had anything that he had made and nobody paid for, and he would sell to me for a discount.
Right.
Why? Because the thought of me going in the ring and not in some kind of professional gear was outrageous at that time. Now, anybody can do it. But back to my original premise, and then I'll finish this question, and that is the degradation of the business. Larry Sharp starts selling franchises, guys start training guys. Well, that's fine. But wrestling is based off experience.
Exactly.
The more you really have a feel for it is based on more of the experience you get. I was lucky because a lot of guys who had experience were taking me in the ring and teaching me. A lot of guys now don't get that, and they try to get taught verbally what is not a verbal business, and so they get trained. So you've got guy A who gets trained by Iron Mike Sharp. Great guy, has tons of experience, fantastic. Guy A has 4 years of experience. But he's got 4 years of experience on the independents and really hasn't quite got the grasp of what it is that Iron Mark Sharp's trying to get him to understand, but he kind of gets it, but doesn't.
Right.
It's good. He really doesn't have because he doesn't have that experience. He goes, buys a ring, gets a building. He's training guys. Now, guy C gets trained by guy B. Guy C is with guy B for a year and a half. Have fallen out. Buys a ring, gets a building, starts training guys. Now, he knows even less. Guy C now starts training guy D, and then get D to E and F and G, and on it goes. And now we have the blind leading the blind, leading the blind, leading the blindest. To where you now get to where we've totally lost focus of the very things that we were supposed to be teaching in the first place. So, thus the degradation of the business. And why the state of the independents, and honestly, the state of wrestling. There are things about wrestling that are intrinsic to it, and if they're not passed down, it'll cease to be.
I don't think it's ever going to come back the way it was.
It won't unless there's a concentrated effort to make it that way.
Right.
Not just, hey, let's go find the next big guy, put a pair of boots on him, put a pair of trunks on him, get him to know how to take a bump, and stick him in the ring, and we can... You can't do it. It just will not. In the long run, in the big picture, it won't work. Because workers, not wrestlers, workers are the product that you're trying to sell and promote. And if the business is full of wrestlers and very few workers, then your options are limited. Back in the day, back when Vince was running A, B, and C, and D towns every single night of the week, when Hogan was on top, Hogan would go to an A and a B town. And then you'd have C and D towns running too. And they were all making so much money. Why?
Everybody was over and everybody was well
Why
groomed.
was it? Everybody was over,
Right.
and heels had heat, and babyfaces were over. And why? Because the guy that had the least amount of experience in that locker room probably had been working for 10 years, 7 nights a week in front of an audience. Now, well, you can't do that now, Al. Territories are dead. Yes, you can. You know how you can? The same way that ECW was. Because when ECW started, Rob, how did it start?
Underground, pretty much.
And one night a month, Todd Gordon footing the bill, one night a month, hit and miss, giving out free beer to get people in, until they started selling tickets. The more they sold tickets, the more they could charge. The more they could charge, the more money they made. The more they built up Philadelphia in ECW Arena, they now had the base to go run another town. Then they had the base to run another town, until they were working the same schedule as what WWE does now. When I was there, we were working, what?
4 nights a week.
4 nights a week. Every week.
Yep.
Well, they don't work any more than that in WWE, except for when they go overseas.
Right.
You know?
When you went back to the locker room, WWE, how does Steve Austin handle being a top guy around this period of time?
He was great.
He was good.
Yeah.
What about Triple H? Did you sense that he was breaking out, coming to his own player?
Well, Triple H always had, Triple H was a climber, meaning that you could always see he wanted to be that top guy. So even then he was working his way towards that. It's a combination of not just what you do in the ring, it's also what you do in the locker room.
Was he very political?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, that's part of it. You got to understand, I ask guys I train, who's a mark?
Who's a mark?
No.
Everybody's a mark.
That's right. The only 2 people that aren't a mark are the 2 guys that are working it. 2 guys in the match or 4 guys in the match. Everybody else, Vince, everybody's a mark. And when do you stop working? Never.
Exactly.
That's right. Which brings me to my favorite term, smart mark, which is the most oxymoronic term I've ever fucking heard, because how are you going to be a mark and smart to the work at the same fucking time? Ain't fucking possible. Get with the fucking program, people.
Did you think that Rock would break out as he did? Did you see the potential in him early on?
Well, yeah, you kind of got that feel from him, but and then he took it upon himself. I mean, and really, honestly, every guy has that opportunity every time he goes. There's a good example. I mean, Steve Austin's a good example. Steve Austin went and did what he felt in his gut, and what happened? They always reference back to just the Austin 316 promo, but literally, he went and, every time he went to the ring, I'm sure there were plans to do this and do that, and he just started going with his gut, and it kept working. Rock was pushed to the back, and the Nation of Domination was supposed to feature D'Lo Brown. A lot of people don't know that.
Right.
And Rock just kept, in little ways, standing out and doing everything he could and to stand out to where he, developed himself. They didn't push him. They kind of hit him. They didn't want to, because he was inexperienced.
Now I guess you returned at King of the Ring, right? You debuted again at King of the Ring?
Yeah, I think I did, yeah.
What are your memories of your debut back?
It was a big mistake for me to, not realize what an opportunity it was. I, again, was thinking, it was just, I want to have a really good match. Very short-sighted. I let Brian Christopher talk me into that finish of pinning the head, and I didn't work the match the right way with the head, and I didn't understand my own gimmick. I didn't understand why it got over. I didn't understand the appeal. I didn't understand how a heel could get heat on me. I didn't understand where a heel's heat was working with me, so I could help them.
Right.
I just looked at it as a wrestling match. And, that'll be entertaining. Let's put a Head and Shoulders bottle on the head so that you can win. And not realizing that by doing that, I just, on my debut, I just cut my own throat,